Alright, I won't lie, it feels pretty damn good to be making a video like this again. It's been so long since there have been new movies in the cinema, or trailers to get hyped for, or really big superhero movie announcements, all that stuff. Like I mentioned a couple of videos ago, during this pandemic, because of the lack of those things, my interest in them has fallen a bit. And then all this news comes out, and I remember once again why I love this stuff. Seeing all these trailers and announcements when I woke up in the morning, it brought back that feeling of excitement for future movies. I'd almost forgotten how that feeling felt. I couldn't be happier, man. It feels good to be back. So, let's talk about all the big announcements from day 1 of the DC FanDome event, with day 2 coming, I believe, in September. I want to talk about all the big trailers that I have more thoughts on in more depth, so let's quickly speed round some of the smaller pieces of news up front. There was some more info about the Sandman Netflix show. It'll be set in the modern day rather than the 80s. There was a trailer for the new Arkham game, Gotham Knights. Looks like a good game? ? I don't play a lot of video games and haven't played the Arkham games, so not really my area of expertise, though I do like seeing the Court of Owls here. Read some of those comics, and that's a really interesting storyline to be explored. The trailer for the new Suicide Squad game was quite fun. Looks like a cool premise for a game, but again, not really my area of expertise. There was a trailer for Season 7 of The Flash. Apparently what was supposed to be the finale of Season 6 is how Season 7 will start, because filming had to be put on hold. I haven't watched The Flash in quite a few years. I think I dropped off after Season 3? Just lost a bit of interest in it at that point, I think. I did enjoy it when I watched it, to be fair. But this new season looks about the same as the others. It looks comic booky and cheesy and overdramatic, which, for a comic book property, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with. But yeah, personally, I'm not really that involved in the Arrowverse that much anymore. For those who are, though, that'll be coming 2021. A new Static Shock comic was announced. Red Hood, Scarecrow, and Commissioner Barbara Gordon were confirmed to be in Titan Season 3. The official title of Shazam 2 will be Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And more news was given about that Batman miniseries coming January 2021. Firstly, Batman will be played by a person of color, and secondly, that it will focus on Lucius Fox. To be honest, I'm not really sure what this is. It sounds vaguely like Gotham, like a Batman story, but told from the perspective of a supporting character in the Batman world. I don't know, I'll keep my eye on this. It sounds intriguing. And now onto the bigger news about the upcoming DC movies. Firstly, there was some concept art for the Flash movie, which, after all this time, is actually happening. We're living in a time where it looks like New Mutants and the Flash will be coming out. Granted, about 3 years after they were supposed to, but still, I didn't know if we'd ever see the day. Anyway, the Flash's suit has been built by Batman in this film, saw some concept art of that. We also learned that the DC cinematic multiverse will come from this Flash movie, which presumably then will be explored further in films after this. And then the big news that was revealed a few days before this, but now we also have some concept art, Ben Affleck's Batman will be appearing along with Michael Keaton's Batman, as this film will involve time travel / multiverse hopping / just exploring the possibilities that come with this kind of story. I personally love this idea. I was a little apprehensive with this at first, because I felt it was coming too soon in the DCEU to just go weird with it. But the benefit of this franchise being a bit all over the place is now you can just go crazy with it. Just be creative with it, because there isn't some really tight continuity that you have to adhere to. So just make the most creative and fun film possible. With a pretty good director at the helm, I'm quite excited for this. And Keaton returning as Batman, even just for a cameo, undeniably does sound awesome. Then, speaking of movies that I thought we'd never actually see, there was also some news for the Dwayne Johnson Black Adam movie that they've been talking about since 2014, I believe. They revealed which characters will be in it, that being Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher, the latter being played by Noah Centineo. And then there was this concept art trailer, which started in a way that did make me laugh, because it's just Dwayne in his regular Dwayne clothes in this majestic setting. But the rest of the trailer gives us a little glimpse of the plot and the character. This looks to be an anti-hero story. I'm pretty interested in this, curious to see how Dwayne handles more of a villainous character compared to what he usually plays. Not a huge fan of the way the costume looks here, but I'll wait till we see it properly to give a final opinion. The supporting cast of characters sounds quite cool. Consider me mildly excited for this. Then there was a new trailer for Wonder Woman 84, which didn't really change much about how I feel about this. I was looking forward to it before, and I'm still looking forward to it. Probably more than I was for the first film, actually. It looks fun, I like the setting and the time period. It looks to take what made the first Wonder Woman good and add some more interesting factors to it. The first one was the origin, now we can explore this character and superhero world a bit more freely. Her and Steve Trevor are fighting together again. Looking forward to seeing more of that. Even a joke about 80s fashion, which at this point should be overplayed, still got a smile out of me because of how these two sell it. I mean, the action doesn't look amazing, it looks serviceable, and on the whole, I don't think this film looks like the best superhero movie ever, but it does look like a really good time, and I'm definitely excited for it. One thing that I can't say I'm a fan of is Cheetah's design so far. Firstly, in her human form, that outfit choice, I don't know, it feels like an early 2000s X-Men type look, or like a CW villain type look. It's just sort of unintentionally funny, like it's supposed to look badass, but in my opinion, it does not. And then the CGI actual Cheetah doesn't look great. I don't want to say it made me think of Cats, but Look, we'll see. Maybe when it comes out, it'll look better, but I have a feeling this will be a similar situation to the first film, where the general consensus is, it was really fun and enjoyable, and then the big superhero CGI fight at the end wasn't that great. But overall, looks really good. Then, maybe the upcoming DC property that I'm most excited for, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. It had a poster, a teaser kind of thing that reveals who the actors are playing, and a behind-the-scenes featurette. I'm just loving everything that I'm seeing from this movie so far. It's being described as a gritty 1970s war movie mixed with Gunn's usual style and comedic sensibilities, and all of this just looks spectacular. I mean, I already love James Gunn's style of humor and creative filmmaking and storytelling. I think this is a phenomenal cast. I think The Suicide Squad has so much potential as a property for film, and this seems like a great direction to go in. It seems they're going in the direction of having these ridiculous characters leading to a bit of a darker comedy action movie. The way the costumes look, how they're talking about you shouldn't get too attached to these characters, everything about this film is looking fantastic to me. I'm getting almost a bit of a Dread vibe mixed with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this film's going to be a ton of fun, huge hit, darkly funny, amazing cast and creative team, fun set pieces by the looks of it. Genuinely one of the superhero movies I'm most excited for in the next few years. Then, another very exciting upcoming property, The Batman. We got a logo, the confirmation that this will be in another universe than the DCEU, although we already knew that really, and that this will be a detective film that will also be inspired by Chinatown and Taxi Driver. And then we got the trailer. They really did spoil us with this many trailers. Again, I appreciate that. I've really missed this feeling of watching trailers and getting hyped for movies. Anyway, The Batman. Looks pretty awesome. My main takeaway from this wasn't really that it blew me away. I was really excited for this movie. I was expecting it to look good, and I'm still really excited. It does look good. Looks really good, actually. This movie has an all-star cast, and we see some of that here. We hear Andy Serkis's voice as Alfred, we see Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, I think this is Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and it looks like the main villain in this will be the Riddler, based on the riddles seeming to play a large part in this trailer, and the way the date is shown at the end. I really like that idea. It doesn't always have to be the Joker. Given a villain we haven't really seen done properly in the movies yet, the spotlight, I think is really exciting. I do apologize to all the Jim Carrey Riddler fans out there. And then Pattinson as the titular character, I think he looks great in this role. I think he's an excellent choice for it, and although we don't get much of him acting-wise in this trailer, I think he'll kill it. It's interesting to see a younger Batman as well, given that we've had lots of older, more experienced versions of the character, especially lately. Even though Pattinson is 34, he looks much younger in this to me, like mid-20s. Christian Bale was actually younger when he was in Batman Begins, but to me this feels like the youngest Batman we've seen. I really love the Batsuit. It's more lean and tactical, and while I really love the Ben Affleck suit, that feels more like he's a tank of a man, where this feels more stealthy and lethal, which I think both work for their respective worlds. We also get Batman beating the ever-loving shit out of a criminal. Classic Batman, pretty cool moment. And he says, "I'm vengeance," when I think a lot of people in that moment were expecting him to say, "I'm Batman." That could have been really cool, but also could have been a bit cheesy, so maybe they made the right call. I do like the Batman voice though. It's a bit Bale-esque, but not as extremely raspy. In general, the aesthetic of this movie is interesting. I guess this isn't set in the 90s, like people were saying. There are modern phones in this trailer. The Batmobile also looks pretty cool. Like the Batsuit, it's much less bulky and tank-like than most of the ones we've seen recently, which I think works for this world. I also like that everything looks very real in this trailer. A lot of movies these days are so glossy or polished or filmed in a certain way or filled with CGI that there's something oddly unreal looking about them, even sometimes movies that I love. So it's nice to see that especially for something more grounded like this, everything here looks very real. It also looks quite dark, both tonally and visually. All in all, I really like the world this seems to be set in. It's somewhere between a ridiculous comic book world and the Christopher Nolan films in terms of realism. Based on this, it's probably a bit closer to Nolan, but I love that. I think the idea of a darker, more gritty world that fits Batman while still using lots of the different comic book villains and implementing some cartoony comic book elements in ways that fit the world is the perfect way to handle this character that is dark, but also part of a crazy, ridiculous world. So I'm excited for this, and if it's good, what other directions this new Batman world they're building could go in. So overall, very excited for that one. And finally, the big one, an idea that I thought was never actually going to happen, but here we are, the Snyder Cut. Firstly, there was this poster, and then it was revealed that this will be 4 hours long, to be released in 4 one-hour parts, or you can just watch it as one 4-hour experience. Wow, I mean, I guess if Warner Brothers was going to do this, might as well go all out with it. In for a penny, in for a pound. Don't leave any room for people to say, "Oh, what about this part that was cut?" Just put everything in. Fair enough. And then we got a trailer for the Snyder Cut, and it looks interesting. I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade here, but I have some mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I am genuinely very curious to see this. As much as I may not have loved Snyder's other DCEU movies, I can really appreciate that they were his vision, and I would 1,000,000% rather see the genuine vision of a person than just a product made by a studio designed to hopefully be successful. And I'm intrigued as to what this might pay off from the previous films, like with the Apocalypse sequence. Darkseid is in this, Black Suit Superman. There is stuff in here that I'm excited to see, and at the very least, I'm extremely curious to see this film. But, on the other hand, for me at least, like I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of BVS. So, while I think it's cool we'll get to see Zack Snyder's vision, I didn't think his vision for BVS was that great. And so I have my doubts that this will be a movie I'll really love, just like I didn't really love BVS. I think I'll like it more than the original Justice League, but I don't think these changes are going to turn this into the best movie ever. Plus, I mean, some of the CGI still doesn't look great. Like, I don't think this movie's going to fix every problem with Justice League. However, my overall takeaway from this is generally excitement, born mostly from curiosity. I mean, with all those deleted scenes and as a completed vision, surely at least it'll make for a more interesting film than the original. Even if it has weird moments or plot holes or odd character choices or whatever, I'm excited to see this as a complete vision. And who knows, maybe it'll actually be great. I mean, it does look like we'll get more character development for Cyborg, and more actual story. This looks like it'll feel more like an actual movie with development, unlike the original, which felt more like this Frankenstein pieced together movie that was then cut so it could be under 2 hours. So, I'm looking forward to that. Plus, this movie, color-wise, even if it's that Snyder black and gray, already looks better than the weirdly red finale of the original. So all in all, I am curious to see this. So, in conclusion, I sort of said this in an episode of my podcast, but this DC slate is looking pretty nice. I remember a few years ago, the DC films were kind of a laughingstock, and to be fair, they did make some questionable decisions and some not very good movies, but since then, they've started to turn it around, making more fun movies and committing to a certain style, and giving control to the director. Hell, even outside the DCEU, going in new directions, and with this upcoming slate, I'm not promising they'll all be good, but when I'm genuinely struggling to decide which movie I'm most excited for, that's a good thing. I think it's the Suicide Squad, but the Batman isn't that far behind. So fair play, DC. Thanks for reminding me how fun it is to get hyped for upcoming superhero movies, after a while of there being nothing new in that regard. Made me very happy. So, those are my thoughts on the news from the DC FanDome event. What did you think of this, and which movie are you most excited for? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, check out this podcast about movies and TV I do with a friend of mine, it's called The Poorly Planned Podcast, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.